and I'll get into that, I'm going to bring them back. I'm going to mark them down as a good candidate to bring back for other focus groups, okay? But done is better than perfect. Just, like Nike, just do it. Don't come up with excuses, well, it might not be good, or I might screw it up, or that kind of thing. Just like I said, my mantra in my life is fail forward. Learn from your mistakes. First focus group stunk. I talked too much. I'm going to do another one, and it gets better, and it gets better, and it gets better. And again, it's so much better than just not doing them, than not having the information. Do you have a question?
Yeah, is there any special way that you personally store lists of potential in the future people for focus?
I think you have the crystal ball. I was just about to get to it. But to answer your question, yes. And it's not, again, scientific. I have an Excel spreadsheet, okay? And I just have I have my names, got my email addresses, I got, my notes. The notes are really important because they tell you this person was insane, or this person is very defense-minded. I want to bring them back because they'll always eviscerate my cases and help me identify landmines. This person's super plaintiff-friendly, so while they're good for a conversation, I might not want to put too much weight in them because they might be too friendly in my case, that kind of thing. And then demographics, age, email, phone number, all that stuff. And then I just compile it, and I make a note of when, and I'll get to this, and again, I'm sorry, Larry.
Do you ask political affiliation?
Yeah, I did sometimes, yeah. I just am also like, how much is that going to help me at trial a lot of times? In Allegheny County, I'm not there's no political, now you could do searches.
Sonny, that's the first thing I do. I get the jury pool. I want to know if they're R's or D's. We can get it like 4 or 5 days beforehand.
Yeah.
I'm asking you, do you think that's important in the world that we live in?
I think it could be. Yeah, sure. I think it would be interesting to know. And again, you kind of get into your own quantitative takeaways from focus groups. You do enough of them, you do start to see some general trends in certain types of people or about certain types of cases. So you might glean some good things from R's versus D's on the type of case that you're working on that could be really beneficial. Allegheny County, we can't, I don't know, I don't get to learn their political affiliation, so it's not as important to me. Yeah, for me, again, Larry, the political aspect I think is probably super important, but I think what really is important is whatever the belief system that made them that way, that made them that political leaning to begin with, rather than just the fact that they are an R, they are a D, because you've got that whole spectrum of far left, far right, and then everything in between. There's such gradations between them. It's not just not one or the other. That said, I think that if you were able to know it, like you find out in Mercer, for instance, yeah, I'd probably definitely want to know that.
No, in Lawrence County, you go to the voter registration office when the list comes out, and it's public record. Again, is it important in your focus group to you, because you've had a lot of success, when they're expressing their views, to know what their political affiliation is? Like I asked them, are you a Republican or a Democrat? I don't tell them what I am or whether I think that's good or bad, but I want to know.
I don't. But that just goes to the point that the way I do my focus groups is far from, precise or scientific. And I think everybody, like once you do them, you start to use them, you start to figure out the way that they give you the most value personally. And for me personally, I'm just trying to identify common trends among everybody, assuming that I got a mix of R's and D's and everything in between. If I'm seeing kind of across the board responses or questions about something or a reaction a certain way, that's what's important to me. Okay, it's those kind of across everybody issues. That's the way that I do it. They help me identify the landmines, the problems in my case. Another thing, and I'll get in towards the end of this presentation, I'll get into the different types of focus groups that I do. And the cool thing about it, your imagination can go wild with these things about how you want to use them. But one of the most effective and important focus groups, anybody that's going to go try a trial, is show them your client. Do a small microcosm direct cross of your client and show it to them. and you will get unbelievable information, because everybody knows, and I think it's so true, that a huge factor in any trial, assuming the balance could tip either way. It's not a horrendous case or it's not a slam dunk case, but even in those cases, it's going to affect value, is the likability of your client and the dislikability of the defendant, or vice versa, is going to massively change things. And so when you do I call them witness focus groups, you get unbelievable feedback. They typically will rip your people apart. They need to sit up. They need to quit saying yeah instead of yes. They need to, their response there, that facial expression they make. I didn't like the way they sat in their chair. She should dress like this. She should pull her hair up like that. Oh, I think this, I think that. I mean, they'll give you so much information, you take it right back, and you don't, unless you got the right client who can take a beating, you gently work it into your witness preparation with them. And I think it's just incredibly beneficial. I don't know why I just got off on that tangent.
Yeah, so you film your client's testimony?
I do.
You don't bring them in like live?
No. I film them and then I show it to them. Also for time purposes. Then I can make sure I can kind of cut the video down like 10 to 15 minutes long, and I can just show it on the video to them. I think you're going to get more honest feedback. They know the person isn't like sitting in the next room and they're just, I hate this person. And so I just think the video works best. Hey, we're going to show you some testimony of the plaintiff in this case. We're going to give you a questionnaire. Tell us what you think about them. I'll usually have, if you have a real trouble witness, what I'll do is, and I did this on a case, and it was a game changer. I would do 1 to 10. 1, I hate this person. They're the most uncredible, just terrible person. I would never give them money. 10, I love them. I give them the world and anywhere between, and have them grade it. And if they get trashed, take what you learned, do it again in another project. See if the numbers improve. Okay, and so on and so forth. If you have a really problematic witness, say, but in a righteous case, it really can make a huge difference in the outcome of stuff, or those ones. And this is I love it. This is what I want.
Have you ever been surprised that in this way? Have you ever had a client that you thought, man, they're not going to be good, but yet the focus group contradicted your?
Yes, absolutely. People that you thought they weren't emotive enough, they weren't, didn't seem like this impacted them as much as you're claiming. You're like, oh my God, a jury's they're not gonna buy this person. It doesn't seem like it's bothered them all. And then they get in there and a bunch of people are like, oh, I think very credible. They're not up there boo-hooing, and you're like, oh, okay. And the good thing about that is you can kind of take a lot of those common responses to the way people seem and apply that in your witness preparation of the ones. You start to understand, like, well, in certain circumstances, people would expect more emotion, but in others, they don't want it. And it would be bad to have too much emotion. But yeah, I mean, and that's generally, Larry, I'm always surprised in pretty much 90% of my focus groups about something I hear. I mean, that's just kind of the theme of focus groups, is you're always finding something out, like, boy, oh boy, that just is crazy that they think that, but I better deal with it. But yeah, it's always amazing when I think, or vice versa, I think I got the best client, and they go in and people don't like them, and you're like, what is it? Like, what is it about this person? I love them, but, which again is pointing out your blind spot. That's why they're great. This is building up into your point about how do you, keep track of stuff. When you either do focus groups and you get people in there, or you get your responses back from Craigslist, again, you want to pre-qualify them with those responses to your answers. And sometimes, like for instance, I don't invite lawyers to my focus groups. So I'll get, or even people that are real, like legal assistants. I don't want them in my focus groups, because what happens is they become the expert. And they can really ruin a focus group, because everybody just starts, well, what do you think? Oh, well, I know about these I know about these slip and pluckings. And they says, oh, there's insurance, they're going to pay. And this is just like, I'm not getting anything of benefit out of this. So the questions that you put in occupation, things of that nature, are really important to help you decide who to even invite to your focus groups. And you really want to filter them out to give yourself the best chance of having a good focus group. Because if you don't, it can be really frustrating when, and you will, you get bad focus groupers. They can ruin a focus group if you're not careful with how you deal with them once they get there. This is what it looks like. You got your notes, you got your invited dates, when did they last attend, their political, occupation, phone, email. As time has gone on, the different categories, kind of to Larry's point, my political one is kind of empty. But you want to, the ones that are important to me are occupation, education, age, that sort of thing. And then you want to make your notes, because, and again, some people would say this is heresy. I invite people back that have been in my focus groups over and over and over again. The right people, okay? And some people would say, oh, that's terrible. All right, but here's my philosophy on it. If I'm going to do a focus group, I don't care if I have on paper the greatest focus grouper for my case. And they should be perfect, exactly the type of person I want. And then they come and they don't say a word. And they're a wallflower. And no matter what I do to try to extract information from them, they won't talk. Yes, no, oh, yeah, what he said, what she said. Why am I paying that person? I'm not getting any value out of them. I want the information that's in their brain, the raw, as Nick Rowley says, the brutal honesty of how they feel. Go ahead.
Do you tell them they're getting paid to talk?
Oh, absolutely.
And so does it work?
It doesn't on some people. It really doesn't. And you think that, I literally tell them, like, your job, the reason I'm paying you at the end of this is to know what you think. I don't want to, I tell them this. I said, I don't want to hear that you just think what they think and just pass it off. And I want to know, like, what do you feel about this case? And inevitably, when you're just randomly going off Craigslist, you're going to get people, sometimes more than one person, and they're just not giving you anything. And it's just a waste of money. So going to the point about reusing people, and again, my slides will be redundant because I get to topics ahead of time. You want talkative people. You want, moderately intelligent, thoughtful people. And you want people that can get along with others to some extent. Now, it's okay to have some friction there. That's really good sometimes. But you just don't want the people that come in, they don't talk. Or other people, they have some sort of trait or something, and it just destroys the dynamic of the focus group. Either it makes people awkward. You literally have people come in and they have really bad body odor. And it's like affecting, it's like punishing the other focus group participants. They're like, I didn't sign on for this. And that's just, there's all sorts of variations. And I'll literally note, smelly, don't invite back. Unfortunately, I'm sure there's a reason for it, but.
If you get someone that's ruining a focus group, be it through odor or just being too probably boisterous, is there an easy way to reject them or easy to do all that?
It just depends. Sometimes you'll have people that either they're dominating the conversation, and you have to sniff that out and address it, cordially. But you do have to address it and say, thank you, ma'am, or thank you, sir. But I also want to hear from so and so. And okay, let's take your point. Let me just let me cut you off there for a second. I want to pivot over. And you really have to work and earn it when you get those people that could otherwise kind of destroy it and take it over. And it's like the, random focus group or juror show. You're paying them money. You have to fight to make sure that you get it. Now that said, your chances of these bad outcomes happening goes down significantly when, over time you do enough. And, I have probably 200 people now, 300 people that I know from past focus groups. They're quality focus groupers. And this idea that, they're going to come back and they're just going to tell you what they want to hear, or no, they're not. Every case is different. And they're not, their whole belief system didn't just change, because you saw them, you dealt with them, you know what this person's up to. They're not going to come back at a later focus group and be like, let's just tell Brendan what he wants to hear, or this kind of thing. So I personally am a big advocate of reusing quality focus groups, because then it just increases your chance that it's a known quantity. You're going to get feedback. You're going to get insights into your case. You're going to get good discussion with other people. You're not going to have any big problems that are going to ruin the focus group. So, that's why I really am a big believer in making detailed notes about people afterwards. And what I'll advocate too is you videotape. I always videotape both the group discussion and your focused discussion of people. In most part, just so you have the information, but number two, the worst, and it's like, who's selected the jury before? And when you're making your strikes, you think you got out this different person, and then the jury comes in who's been in panel, and you're like, oh my God, like that guy's on the panel? I thought for sure I struck him. It's the same thing with focus groups. You come back and you're like, oh God, this woman's here again. I thought I made a note that she's terrible. And that's why, so the point being, the facial recognition on the videos, like, Bill, annoying, overruns the conversation. And I know him. I know which one he is, and go find him, and that can help you with your notes and keeping track, so you have better and better focus groups going forward in time.
Brendan, are you videotaping? They know they're being videotaped.
Oh, I put it in my advertisement. I say, and a portion of this project will be videotaped.
Do you need a waiver from them or something to do that?
No, but what I do a lot of times on my focus groups is at the very beginning, I always tell them, this will not be reused except for the people that are going to look at it, and I do tell them, I said I might do a CLE with that, or I might do a presentation and I might use a clip from this, but you're not going to show up on YouTube or anything like that kind of thing. But telling them ahead of time is really important, because I have had a couple of times where people have gotten really pissed off when before I would make a note of it in my ad, like, well, I didn't know I was being videotaped. Like, I think you should pay me extra now. Or I was like, well, you can also leave, and But to be fair, I didn't tell them, and it was a surprise to them. So now I always explicitly tell them a portion of this will be videotaped. On a related note, Larry, I think it is a good job too, because people get leery about, well, what if this is discoverable and things of that nature. Like the contents of your focus group conceivably. A lot of people worry, like, well, what if the defense finds out you're doing them and they file a motion to compel production? Well, in and of itself, I think that it's work product doctrine, etc. But the best thing to do, I think, is at the very beginning of the video or the end of the video say, raise your hand. You agree and understand that I'm paying you as an expert consultant on this case. You're an expert jury consultant, etc. Yes, I am. And then literally, like, you paid those people to give you expert insight onto the case. And in Pennsylvania, at least in state courts, right, it's not discoverable. So never. But every time I give, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Get into the expert qualifications and it's junk too public.
Yeah, no. No, but to your even a more like the first point to your question.
It's your work product in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's your video, it's your question, and it's your case.
Yeah.
You are just, it's an interesting point. I never would have thought of that.
Well, I raise it because I've had people email me about that. What if it's what if the defense, they know you do focus groups. No one's ever asked for my focus group stuff. And I think there's a million ways that you could demonstrate to the court. I think there is a case, Armin Leonelli from Edgar Snyder actually sent it to me. And you have to be careful of this. I believe there was a case where there was a focus group done where the person filmed their client. But they did it with a big video crew and other third-party people there. And it was for purposes of showing it to a focus group. And somehow the defense caught wind of this. I may be totally butchering this case, but I believe this is what it is. And they filed a motion to compel. We want all statements, all everything. And so they were able to get the testimony of the person only because there was other people in the room when it was being filmed. You know what I mean? It was because it kind of busted up any of the work product or attorney-client privilege. So when I shoot the video of my client for purposes of showing it to a focus group, again, only because Armin pointed this out, and not that I'd have other people in the room anyway. I don't need like a big video crew to do it, but I shoot it myself. and I edit myself, and then I show it to my expert focus group trial people. And so then there's be no argument that that's, you know, a statement that wasn't part of work product, I think. But anyway, I really think so much of this is much ado about nothing, because I don't know anybody, I've never heard of defense trying to compel or get access to your focus group materials. Yes, sir.
Yeah, when you do multiple focus groups on a case, do you ever avoid, or do you avoid reinviting?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't, the only way, as a rule, I do not bring people back for the same case. Yeah. I suppose it wouldn't be a problem if you were doing really focused issues in a case, and so you did one focus group on a particular issue, and then you brought that same person back on a totally different issue component of the case. But I'll tell you, I've accidentally invited people to another focus group on the same case, and so I can tell you from firsthand experience, what happens is they have a whole bunch more knowledge on the case than the other people do, and so your focus group at that point was really focused on this one thing you wanted people to understand about, then that person comes in like, oh, I heard about this case, well, let me tell you this other part that happened, and you're like, and now it's kind of messing everything up. So now, if I ever make that mistake, I just pay the person and send them on their way. I said, I made a mistake, I'm going to pay you, and you can just go home, but I don't want you in here because you already know other aspects of this case. Okay.
When you're saying the video is a practical matter, you're not bringing in the video crew, are you? Just bringing a tripod with a home cam?
You want to see what I'm doing right now? You're looking at my, this is what I do at every focus group. That. And I put my phone in it. And this is how I shoot all my focus groups, like that.
How's your sound?
Well, no offense, I've never used the superstars like yourself because, again, the theme is I'm trying to keep costs down, and I'm sure you're very affordable, but you know, I'm trying to create the lowest barrier of entry for all of us to get in there and get some real valuable information for our clients. Yeah, I mean, I used to do the tripod with the bigger camera or different stuff, and you know, and there are people, you do a higher end focus group, you're going to have Dales in there shooting it, you know, because they want the top end sound quality and everything like that. But again, you know, this is, I'm doing this stuff on a shoestring, and that's what I think is the best value. Yes, sir.
Brandon, from experience, what's the threshold amount of a case that you've looked at that you feel you've got to start looking for assistance through use of focus groups? I mean, is there any precise, or is it just kind of a sixth sense you get about things?
So I'm addicted to them. So I literally, if I took a case that it was like $10,000, I'd probably do it on that because I'm just like a mental case at this point. But no, I honestly think they're so valuable. I mean, first off, I would say that one of the big parts of your focus group is to take whatever that perceived value of the case is and hopefully creates a much higher value by doing it. But I guess I mean, honestly, I wouldn't have a level. I think it would just be the same calculus that you would apply to, you know, is it worth spending this money on this case for that type of person or this expert or that kind of thing. It would be the same analysis of whether, from a business standpoint, you thought that it was worth the money under the circumstances. So I can't say there's a threshold. I mean, literally, any level case that I have, you can guarantee I'm doing at least one, if not several of these focus groups. Yeah.
Sort of a follow-up.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a case where you used a focus group or groups where the ultimate outcome was diametrically different than what the focus groups had predicted?
So, okay. Well, yes and...
What's the cost effectiveness of using these?
Okay, so actually, yes, but in a positive way. Okay, and this is going to get to a point that I'm making later. One of the most important, so when you're actually doing, so now we've gotten over the hurdle of like the rigmarole of setting up the focus group. Then it's following a couple sort of rules of thumb to give yourself the best chance of getting the most out of the focus group. The only way a focus group can be really bad, can really be harmful, is if you go in and you're trying to win it. And you stack the deck to win the focus group, which I could never understand, but I literally see and hear about this happening all the time. That people just want validation that, yep, see, we're going to walk in there and we're going to win $1 gazillion because these people said so, and you didn't tell them about all the terrible stuff in your case, and you also showed them a bunch of stuff that a bunch of it's probably going to get eliminated out or never even get into the case. And what I'm getting to, though, is that what you want a lot of times is you want to lose your focus groups. You want to present the facts to them in a way that you're going to take a beating. And so I'm getting to the point of the majority of my focus groups, I'm losing in the focus group. And so I've had many times where I've lost almost every single focus group, and then I've won at trial because I took what I learned and did that. And so that would be a diametrically opposite outcome. On the other hand, I get real nervous and sick to my stomach when I do a focus group and I get like, oh, this case is great. Oh my God, you're gonna just crush it. This is just an amazing case. I'm thinking, I did not present this correctly. Like I must have lopsided it or something. Because I don't know about all of you, but 99% of my cases usually have some big old problems in them. That there's going to be a big segment of the population out there that's just not going to fly with. And so maybe if I got this, super like roaring validation of my case, I got a bad sample size, I got a bunch of ultra super plaintiff type people on there, and that's not good necessarily, or I didn't present the facts correctly. And so on the other hand, unfortunately, I've had D's when the focus groups were telling me I had a good chance of winning. So again, and that goes back to the very beginning, focus groups are not a silver bullet, okay? They're a tool, okay? They help you do a better job for your client and for yourself. That's really what they come back to, but the answer is absolutely, probably most often, yeah, that's how it works out. You guys want to take a break now? Or what, I don't know what the break time is.
1:15 minute break.
Wait, what?
1 15-minute break is left.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought you said I go into 1:15. I was like, oh. I love this stuff, but okay, gotcha. So, all right, so we started at 8:30. Well, I'll go for like 5 more minutes. I'll do like 1 or 2 more slides, okay, and then we'll break. All right, so scheduling, sticking with kind of the basics. Because again, this is all the stuff you're like, oh, it's probably so difficult to do a focus group. Email, get their email addresses, okay? And I'm going to show you a second the message. And again, I'll give you a Dropbox link afterwards, and it has all my scripts, how I send it. You can literally copy and paste this stuff and just put it in your emails going forward. Email, don't do the call thing, because it's just a giant hassle unless you have a saintly assistant or secretary who's willing to call these people and say, like, would you like to go into a focus group? It's just a giant pain, and it's just another unnecessary hurdle to getting it done. You want to plan ahead of time. Now that said, I'm chronically scrambling, so have I scheduled a focus group on a day or two's notice? Absolutely. But generally speaking, so that, and I'll tell you the biggest reason why that is a bad idea to do it is because to do the best focus group and get the most out of it, you need to get ready. You need to set aside lots of time to focus on what do I want to accomplish in this focus group, go back through the case, go back to the issues, and get all your stuff ready so that you're going to do the best thing, rather than just going and, oh crap, I just scheduled this yesterday, and you're kind of just shooting from the hip. You just, like anything else, preparation, getting ready for it is going to bear better fruit for you in the outcome of your focus group. So week, 2 weeks, is kind of the ideal, so that you also give people, your time to find the right number of people, get the right respondents, because, I'll email 40 people and I'm looking for 6 people to show up. And part of that is kind of calling out from the information I know, well, okay, this would be a good little mixture of people, that kind of thing. Have I, these people responding, are they stinkers or problems for this kind of case, that kind of thing. So give yourself some time. And then this is really critical, it turns out, because I've gotten yelled at by people also. I used to just stick everybody's name like a normal email, just a gazillion people, and then I get these like nasty messages like, I don't want all these other people knowing my email address. I'm like, well, like why? But anyway, blind carbon copy. The other probably most important reason why it's important to stick all their email addresses in the BCC is then when they respond, you get a single email and it's not to the whole group and everything like that, which is people don't want to get spammed by their fellow focus groupers. So just make sure that you do it in the blind carbon copy is the kind of the smoothest way to do that. And this is basically my script. And I'll send this to you. And I said 8. I honestly don't want 8 anymore. The more focus groups I've done, I don't want that many people at my focus groups. But that's pretty much it.
Did you say you're using 6 most of the time?
Yeah, or even fewer. I mean, like literally if my secretary comes back and says, we only have 3 confirmed, I'm like, great, it's awesome. Because you're paying them per person, and all that means is that you're going to have that much more time to dig in depth with those people and really extract the information. It's diminishing returns when you've got limited time, the more people you have. So some people think, well, I want 12 people because there's going to be 12 people on my jury. No, you don't. You do not want that because you're going to waste a whole bunch of value on the money that you pay them because you're not going to get in depth with people. It allows people to be wallflowers. It allows, increase the chances of one or two dominators that you're going to hear from. And if that's the case, then I only wanted those 2 people at my focus group. If that's all I'm going to hear from, because all those other people, I just wasted money. I didn't get anything out of them. So it's just unwieldy. You'll find that it's easier to talk to 2 or 3 people in your focus group than it is to 12. I mean, you have to be really, deft at handling focus group and dealing with people. The more people you have, because then, why want to get to this person and that person and all this different stuff? I mean, you got to be really good at it, better than I am at doing it, facilitating, carrying out the discussion. When it's 2 or 3, it's more intimate. It's easier. It's like at a dinner table with people and just kind of shooting the breeze. Well, what do you think about Bill? Sue, that's a great point. Let's hear how Mike thinks about it. As opposed to 12, it's just too much ground to cover. So yeah, that's my script. It's changed probably a little bit, but that's it. Okay, we'll do this slide and then we'll break. So in this, again, I'm kind of retreading some of this stuff. But that right there, I mean, that's a little granola-y, but I mean, that's kind of like what you're looking at. Kind of a little table, people, and you're just looking to have a nice conversation about this, okay? 5 is great. That's a terrific number of people to have. It's not, I suppose if it was a mock trial, and that's very different than what I'm talking about here. None of this stuff today is a mock trial, okay? I'm not bringing witnesses in and having a defense to the case and all this different stuff. We're mostly talking about issues in the case. I want to know what you think about this witness. There's this issue in my case, in this case, it's just this one focused little part. What do you think about that? What else do you want to know about that? How do you feel about the way that the person handled that thing? Or it's just these little issues that you're just not sure about. That's what we're talking about here. Now, I will do case narratives. So kind of an even-handed plaintiff and defense summary of the case, and let people talk about that. In some circumstances, I will do that. And that's closer to a mock trial, but still 100% different. And again, not at all why you'd want 12 people. I mean, honestly, for a mock trial, I'm not even sure why you want 12 people for that. I mean, I know that's the same number at trial, but it's like, what value are you getting out of this process? And again, these are the people you want, okay? And why you reuse. You want them to talk. You want people that aren't super shy, that'll get in there and share their opinions, and that they're thoughtful, that they are happy to be there. There are some people that'll come and obviously they just saw an easy, quick way to get some potato chips and $50, and that's it. And they're not looking to really help you out, no matter how hard you tell them, you're being paid for this job. Your job is to share your thoughts. And you want team players. It's very, very infrequent, but I have had focus groups where people thought a fight was going to break out because of how serious people saw a case differently. And I guess that's amazing because you're getting across to them that they really care about it and they really care about the issue. But I mean, come on, yes, I'll be friends here. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll see you after the focus group. Yeah, I know. Another reason for BCC. Ideally a mix of backgrounds, and more so if I'm reusing people. My thing, and Larry, again, to show you how unscientific I am, it's more like a mix of people that seem to be more plaintiff-y than defense-y. I want that good mix in there because my favorite thing to see. So a lot of times what I do in my focus groups is I have them do questionnaires. So I'll give them an issue, and then I'll give the group a questionnaire to fill out privately. And then I'll have the focus discussion afterwards, either facilitated by me and or just a group deliberation discussion on the issue. And the reason I do that is because I want to know what people thought independently first, and then I want to see when they're in a group discussion if any of those people, so now I know what they thought on their own, did any of those people that had that thought, did it change? And what was it in the course of the conversation that changed their opinion one way or the other? Because that's going to be something really important and really effective in the case that did that. But anyway, the point that I was making that sent me off on that little tangent is that what my favorite thing is, say in a 6-person focus group, is to get the questionnaires back and 3 of them are for and 3 of them are against, or 3 saw it this way and 3 saw it the opposite way. Because then I know when they go in and deliberate and talk, there's going to be a big old discussion because people see things differently. And there's going to be a lot of talk and there's going to be a lot of exchange. What I don't want to see is everybody's one way on it. And then they go in there and they deliberate for 2 minutes. They're like, yep, we all agree. I already knew that. Well, I can't off the top, because I'm not that quick, give you a specific example on an issue, but I can give you in a narrative case. So I have read them essentially a summary of the case, even-handed. I really have tried not to make it too plaintiff, too defense. And they come out, and I tell them, you can ask me questions, all right? You can ask me to read the facts, the pattern I told you, etc. Do not say or ask a question that's telling your opinion. Because people, they can't wait to get their opinions out. And they start asking these questions, well, I would have done this. Why didn't he do that? And I'm like, be quiet. Because I want to know privately what each of them thought, and then in the deliberation. And so, Larry, I'll do that, say, any slip and fall case, or whatever, any case, med-mal, whatever. And the questionnaires, now that you've heard the summary of the case, are you favoring the plaintiff or the defendant? What are your reasons why? What else do you want to know? And then I look at them. I'm favoring the plaintiff, and then you see their reasoning, and it's really strongly in favor of the plaintiff for these reasons. And then you see the other people come out, oh, for the defense because da 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 da. And same focus group, they heard the same facts, and these 2 people or these 3 and 3 people see it diametrically oppositely. That's what I'm talking about when it comes out like that. That's my favorite, and then I'm like, oh goody, this is going to be a great deliberation, because then when they get in there, it's amazing to watch on video, because I'll have them kind of go around, okay, you're going to be the 4 men or 4 women, and you're going to kind of facilitate having each person go around and say the reason why they feel they do. And people are sitting back and you're watching the video and the first person's like, well, I just totally fine for the plaintiff, and you'll see someone else over on there, because they were defense person, and then they were like, what? And then it gets around and they have the conversation, and that's always, I think, what is going to lead to the best discussions ultimately, when you have those real differences of opinion and seeing, and then I tell them, it's like that scene in the Batman. He breaks the pool cues down and throws them down. There's 3 of you now, 2 of you, fight it out. You have to fight it out to the death to get a majority of it. You can't come out of this deliberation. Granted, we only have 2 hours, but you can't come out of this deliberation until you are 5 out of 6 on it. And that's where you're going to find out people, all right, come on over to my side, come on over to my side, which I think is somewhat indicative of how a lot of deliberations go. It's that fight to get people to come over to your side, whether they just give in or they're convinced and they see it differently. But that's what you're trying to get to. And then let me just finish this last piece out. Okay to recycle. And I've said that about 100 times now, but recycle your good jurors.
Right, and I presume they don't know who you are in terms of, do they know you're a lawyer?
You guys are asking awesome questions because they're always like predict that I'm going to get to that. No, but let's talk about it. I'm complimenting you because it's a great. So people know. Here's what I tell them. A lot of them know I'm a lawyer. Okay, and I tell them, hey, it's Brendan. I've been hired to do this focus group. And I think some of them suspect that they're my projects, but I can legitimately, I do them for other people, a fair bit, just to kind of help people, show them how to do it and that kind of thing, okay? And so I tell them, look, I've been hired by one of the parties in this case, all right? And I also tell them that I can't give you extra insights into the fact pattern. All right, but I tell them this is a real case because I think just like a trial, it's so critically important for them to understand how important this is. And I tell them this is real. Like you're going to have real input, impact on this case. And I tell them truthfully, I have seen one line from one juror change the outcome of a whole case, whether it's settled, whether it went to trial and won or lost. I said, so any one of you, anything you say could potentially impact the outcome, and there's real people involved. There's real companies involved. This matters to a lot of people, and it certainly matters to the people that hired me to do that, at the beginning. And I tell them it's like interactive CSI or Bowl. It's like you actually get to do this. You're going to have real, like I'm not doing this to make some facts and see what people think about them. Like these are real people's lives at stake here. And so I try to be as neutral appearing as possible. I don't do it in my office. I do it in a benign room in our building. And would it totally change the outcomes if they just came up to my office and they saw, my firm's name and whatnot? Maybe a little bit, but probably not a lot. But I still think there's it's good to kind of have a neutral zone where you're doing it and try to seem as neutral and even-handed about the whole process as you can, and at least